It was something like a month ago. The Niners lost to the Bengals, and the Seahawks were the first place in the NFC West. Fast forward to today, the 49ers have swept the Seattle Seahawks. The Niners are the number one seed in the NFC, first place in the NFC West. And the Seattle Seahawks are under 500, and I believe mathematically eliminated from the NFC West. That's pretty nifty. We're going to talk about the News for Red Option podcast. It starts now.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.
Sprint Ride Option Podcast.
Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. We are live, and it's the best kind of Monday. It's a victory Monday. Not only is it a victory Monday, it's a victory Monday after beating the Seahawks, but not only is it a victory Monday after beating the Seahawks, it's a victory Monday after beating the Seahawks, where I get to talk to Jason Aponte. Jason Aponte, how you doing on this Monday?
Better than the Philadelphia Eagles, Seattle Seahawks. Tell you
That's
that.
fair. Doing better than a lot of birds out there, dare I say.
Oh, birds have had a tough few weeks.
Birds have had a very tough few weeks, and that's because of the 49ers, Eagles and Seahawks. There might be a Cardinal and a Raven on the docket here in a few weeks, and maybe a Falcon in the playoffs. Just complete all the birds. But yes, we're here to talk about the death of a bird, the Seattle Seahawks. Not as dominant as the Thanksgiving game, but I don't know if it was ever out of the question. The 49ers win 28-16. They evenly distributed their 4 touchdowns through each quarter. The Seahawks were shut out in 2 of the 4 quarters, and that's pretty much what does it. But yeah, am I overreacting and kind of never feeling like that game was in doubt, Jason?
No, and I think I want to ask you, am I being overly optimistic that I enjoyed that the 49ers didn't win that game in an outright blowout?
Yes, no, I think that's true too, because I think there's a little bit of it wasn't the prettiest game. They definitely started off slow, not as slow as the Philadelphia game, and obviously it's very hard to start slow with a 72-yard run on the first play of the game. But after that, they go punt, interception. You're down 10-7. How do you respond? And then Brock Purdy, does Brock Purdy things, and Debo is doing. It's getting to a point where I said NinersNation.com. Don't know if you know we write there. That I said it's starting to get to a point where we might need to update it. Where it's not an appearance by 2021 Debo Samuel. It's just 2023 Debo Samuel, and that's kind of where, because he's. After last year, because I can't remember a game where he necessarily took over like he did in 2021 last year. And this year, there wasn't really one he had, and now he's had 2 in 2 weeks. And that's the insane thing, is how dominant he's been in these 2 games. So yeah, I think it's very good that they had the slow start in these last 2 games and have responded. This start felt a little slower than last week's, that's for sure.
Yeah, and again, I think what you're doing is you are showing that you can win games in different ways. I think that's kind of what bought the Eagles so much goodwill until they came crashing down to earth, and have gotten their doors blown up the last 2 weeks. But you really had to find a way to show people, everything doesn't have to be front running. Everything doesn't have to be when the team is rolling and there's that avalanche,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like there's none of that. And just a little bit more to Andrew's point, and it's actually been Debo's last 3 games. 18 receptions, 344 receiving yards, 8 rushes, 38 rushing yards, 6 total touchdowns. That sounds like a good season for certain players. And, again, it's about, okay, games aren't always going to be won or lost by that margin of victory, right? And I sent out a tweet that David Lombardi responded to pretty funny, and he said, well, it was a blowout. It was 12 points. And what I really meant to say was it's a blowout win, but not by 20, right? Like you're not going to win by 20. So, and that's the thing. You have to show that you're able to find ways to win games. There was injuries in the game. There was turnovers. It wasn't sharp early on. That's the type of like box that you need to check. I guess the last box that we need to check is we've got to somehow spot somebody 45 points so Brock Purdy can come back and do that, so everybody can say that that's out of the way. So for me, it's more about being able to say, listen, we don't need things to be perfect. Sometimes things aren't going to be perfect. It's the NFL. How do you respond? And the 49ers responded in what kind of felt like a weird divisional game for a little while, especially considering Drew Lock started. They responded well, and they, at the end of the day, they were the better team, and that wins out. You can only hold the dam for so long before the levee breaks, and that's what happens when you play the 49ers.
Yeah, it's almost like these last 3 wins have kind of been the same like script. It's just been kind of smash mouth. Brock Purdy's better than you. The receivers are working. You mentioned Debo Samuel, and it's starting to feel like maybe there's a bit of a transition from like what we were seeing earlier in the season, and now I feel like they're kind of locking down the playoff mode because playoff games are a little more physical. Playoff games are a little more chippy. And you've seen that with the Niners these last 3 games and just kind of how dominant and how easy, like, I mean, it's even before these 3 games, because if you say these 3 games, you're forgetting about the Jacksonville game, and then you're forgetting about the one coming out of the bye where Tampa Bay, that's what it was, the Tampa Bay game where they blew those teams out of the water too. But now it just feels like they're not just beating teams up. They're winning a little uglier and they're being more physical than the other teams. I mean, you're seeing it. You saw it last week against Philly. You saw it yesterday. It feels like they're finally grinding down to like more of a playoff style of 49ers football.
Yeah, and shout out to Matt McColl's try us with a sorry ass team like Seattle, and that's the results you're going to get.
I like that.
It's We can make all the jokes that we want now because the shoe is on the other foot now. There is a complete flip. Pete Carroll has never lost 4 games in a row as the Seattle Seahawks coach. That's over. The San Francisco 49ers have beaten the Seattle Seahawks 5 times in a row. That is over. There is no more discussion about a rivalry anymore. I'm going to go right back to what we were talking about. You have to win games for it to be a rivalry. And now this must be what it felt like when the 49ers, couldn't get wins against. Yeah, I will say this. There were games where Seattle would absolutely roll the 49ers, and then there were games that the 49ers were in and lost in a gut-wrenching fashion. But right now, this feels like there's a separation between the two teams, regardless of how well Seattle has drafted. And I've given them a lot of credit for the way that they drafted and the team that they have in certain aspects. And it's funny enough that we had Mookie on from Field Goals, and I literally wanted to make a point to ask him about DK Metcalf and his temper. And look how quickly that happens. I think that's kind of funny, but it's really good to be on the other side of this. And it must be frustrating right now for Seahawks fans who used to lean on, well, you can't come into our stadium and beat us, or we're going to find that's over. It's over. And now you know what it's like to be on the other side of it. Going through hardship makes you appreciate these moments. So going through that hardship of not being able to beat Seattle for a long time makes this very sweet, especially considering that this year came with the Thanksgiving win, and we've got retribution for that now as well too.
Yes.
And we've knocked them out of the playoffs. It's all kind of lining up right now for what's supposed to happen going forward, which is the 49ers are simply just a better team right now, and I don't think it's particularly close, even though this game was close for a few moments.
Yeah, no, and we're going to dive into all of it. We're going to start at the quarterbacks as we always do, Jason Aponte. I'm sure we're going to talk about the little scuffle that broke out at some point here. But quarterback Brock Purdy, 19 for 27, 368, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. The 368 is a new career high in yardage. His now top 6 games in terms of yardage have come this season, and 4 of those 6 have come in the last 5 weeks. Brock Purdy has arrived. I think a lot of people, I'm going to miss the term yak merchant. I was saying this at the top, Jason, that I really like it. It's just a really fun word to say, yak merchant. But 3 for 3 on throws past 20 yards yesterday, an extra 3 for 8 on throws in that intermediate 10 to 20 area. It feels like we're getting on a weekly basis with that was Brock Purdy's best throw because that Debo throw. I've seen, I think you said it. I saw a few other people say it. I've seen Debo run that route. I've never seen a ball thrown like that to him on that route because B, I don't think I've ever seen him hit on that route. I wrote it as he lulled Jamal Adams to sleep, kind of jogging the first part of that route, and then he burned by him. But he definitely made it seem like I didn't think I was getting the ball, so I just kind of was like, whatever. But Brock Purdy, man, I'm running out of words. And this is where the podcasting business gets easy because I feel like with a lot of these positions, we're just going to say a lot of the same words we've said the past 4 weeks about this team. But Brock Purdy just keeps getting better in front of our eyes. And to people who don't have him in this MVP conversation, I'm not saying having him as MVP necessarily, but not having him in the MVP conversation, you need to let go of your take. You need to let go. You need to understand that this is the best, as I've said it before, as many weapons as Brock Purdy has, this offense has not operated like this, and it is solely because of Brock Purdy.
Yeah, and I think what's impressive about this too is in the same way that we talked about the 49ers finding a way to win is early on, the things that Brock was very good at, they weren't connecting on intermediate throws, right? Like I put up the chart at halftime from Next Gen Stats. He hit every other throw, which was closer to the line of scrimmage and deep down the field, but he was missing in the spots that he actually, where he thrives. And
Yes.
I thought it was important to kind of go through that and see, hey, okay, this isn't working. We're a step off here. We're a step off there. And it all goes back to, Brock Purdy, it's never too big for him. It's never too big for him. And it never feels like it's ever getting away. And he's just kind of learning and going through. So I think it's important that, again, you want to see those little moments, right? And you want to see how he reacts, right? That's kind of what people are doing right now with Purdy, because the last thing that they're holding on to right now is, can he throw them back into a game? Well, I've got news for you. The San Francisco 49ers are really good. How do you surmise that the 49ers are going to end up being down 21 to nothing other than just a flat out like throwing up and vomiting on themselves type game?
Yeah.
I mean, like, when is this going to happen? So why is it that you need to see something that could be virtually impossible when it comes to the way this team is built and the way that they play? It's hilarious to me. Like if he was the Giants quarterback, he would have plenty of opportunities to throw them back into football games because they're losing all the time because they fucking suck. Like
Yeah.
it's hard for me to take these arguments serious when there aren't real like lanes to get there when you're talking about this argument. Again, the MVP discussion, that's completely up to you. I think at this point, when you look at the amount of people who have the numbers and lead in the certain categories that he does that were either one or two in the MVP that they won, okay, then you've absolutely got to put him in there, right? Dak Prescott's doing his yearly thing where he dominates teams that stink. Haha, that means you, the Philadelphia Eagles. And then, you've got Lamar Jackson, who's kind of, like in the wings, right? Like he had another great game against the Rams. I thought that was probably the best game of the weekend. But again, it all goes back to just being able to be objective about everything. And the things that I'm seeing in terms of like, hey, it didn't look good for a little while. It looked a little shaky, but he still found a way to bounce back.
Yeah.
That's a sign of somebody who's better than somebody who's throwing up a bunch of numbers. Because if you just look at those numbers and you look at 19 completions and you look at 13.9 per attempt, and you look at all those touchdown throws and everything, you'd say, man, the game's pretty easy for him. But no, you have to actually watch the games. It wasn't early on, and I think that's what's most impressive.
Yeah, and you mentioned the bounce back, but the Niners still cook. Yeah, dude, we're gonna cook the Eagles.
Oh no, it's not. This isn't a 1 week thing. This is not a 1 week thing. Rocky Balboa, if you're listening, cover your ears.
It almost makes me dislike. It almost makes me dislike the Eagles more that I had to cheer for the Cowboys last night. Like I had like a little more oomph behind my let's go Dak for making that play, because it was like I'm cheering for the Cowboys right now, and that just feels sacrilegious, man.
Well,
so yeah, we're gonna cook the Eagles.
The way that I kind of, I guess in my mind registered it is I'm not rooting for a Cowboys win. I'm just rooting for an Eagles loss.
Yeah, 100% that. And it was fun. It was very fun. It was that I had as much fun watching that game as I did the Niner game. But you mentioned Purdy starting slow. It's that 2-play touchdown drive, and then the Niners go punt, interception. How does he respond from the interception? Oh, just a 5-play touchdown drive that included the 54-yard bomb to Debo, and then they go consecutive punts on both sides of the half, and it's touchdown, and maybe a touchdown scoring drive if it isn't for a fantastic play by Julian Love stripping Brandon Ayuk on that big play. It's the slow starts, but now there's responses. The Niners are starting to, because like you could argue that last week's win was winning ugly after that first quarter because of how bad that first quarter was. And now we're seeing these slow starts and they're responding.
Andrew, let's spin it into our narrative. Okay?
Yes.
It was a comeback win against the Philadelphia Eagles. They were down 6-0. It's a comeback win against the Seattle Seahawks. They were down 10-7.
Yeah.
Those are back-to-back comeback wins.
Comeback wins.
Comeback wins.
We love it.
Comeback wins.
Yes.
Okay. So everybody shut up about it. Shut the fuck up about it. I don't want to hear it.
Running backs. Christian McCaffrey, 16 carries, 145. Jordan Mason, 4 for 20 and a touchdown. Deebo Samuel, 1 for 1 touchdown, which is a very funny stat line. I like that stat line. I have nothing per se about the running backs necessarily. Christian McCaffrey opening the game with a 72-yard run is always fun. my thoughts on the running backs is more the offensive line than anything else. The Niners running the ball to the left yesterday. They ran it 10 times to the left side for that's 140 yards. They ran the ball to the right side 6 times for 5 yards. Um, not much success on the right side, a lot of success on the left side. I know McCaffrey had the yardage. All 4 of his biggest runs were on the left side behind Trent Williams. Um, so yeah, I don't have much to say about the running backs because I feel like that's more of an offensive line conversation. And Jason, I saw your Twitter today. I saw your text messages about certain grades on PFF. Let's save that talk for the offensive line and not the running back. So that's my thoughts on the running back. All time for the fantasy people out there, all time just F you giving Jordan Mason that 1 yard run after the 72-yard Christian McCaffrey touchdown or the 72-yard run. That sucks. But other than that, the running backs were very please go, please. Sorry, I'm 5 points down in my fantasy game. I need a win to make the playoffs. I have Mostert going, so Mostert.
And Mostert already got hurt.
He's back on the field though. Almost just got a touchdown. There's been a couple injuries in this game already. So what are your thoughts on Waddle hurt too? What's your thoughts on the running backs, Jason?
Christian McCaffrey is really good, but yeah, it does kind of suck that I kind of wrote an article about prop bets, and I was just like, the easiest money is Christian McCaffrey's anytime touchdown. You think you get it, you nail it right there, and then boom, you don't get one the rest of the game, and then that the 1 yard run is to Deebo Samuel. But it is what it is. It's fine. Again, the 49ers being able to do what they want. I think it was John Feliciano who actually had a really good grade run blocking. Colton McKivitz as well too. I think it was those two that kind of stood out the best. I'll be honest, I don't have overarching takes about the game just yet, or in terms of like who did what. Because I haven't watched the film yet. Today was a rough day. I didn't really get too much sleep last night. I slept until about 2 o'clock. Then I had to go get A-Really, and then I had to write. And then, by the time I downloaded the film, I haven't really got a chance to watch. But I just feel like, look, right now, the 49ers kind of just did what they wanted. And for a little bit in this game, it felt like Seattle's game plan was trying to take away throws over the middle and was trying to disrupt a little bit. So while it is feeling like that Kyle is gathering information, it did kind of feel like they went away from something or did something a little bit different, but I can't say what. Right. So it's just like everyone's like, oh, they adjusted. Well, what'd they do? Like, and if you can't tell me, then it's like, oh, fumble to a good job.
Yeah, I saw that.
That'll kill the scoring drive for everybody. Nice job.
Nice job too.
But yeah, at this point, it was more just, the 49ers finding a way to get the offense going. And Christian McCaffrey had, I think, 5 missed tackles forced, 4 10-plus yard runs. That includes the 72-yard run. He has 72 on 1, and I think on the next 13 he has 72 or something like that. It's something crazy like that. But yeah, Christian McCaffrey, very good at football. That's my high-end analysis.
It makes talking about the Niners very easy. It's just Christian McCaffrey good. It makes running backs easy. So let's move on to receivers. I mean, I don't know how many games you're going to lose when Deebo goes for 7 for 149, Brandon Ayuk goes 6 for 126, and George Kittle goes 3 for 76. All 4 of the big 4, that includes Christian McCaffrey, had plays of 40-plus yards. McCaffrey, the 72-yard run, Samuel, the 54-yard touchdown, Ayuk, the 45-yard play, and then Kittle with the 44-yard. I mean, it was just such a fuck you win to the Seahawks that, like, the Niners had the game put out and they were still hitting deep shots to Kittle. It was a 27-yard play I think on the 3rd down to keep the clock moving. It keeps going back to, and I need to look at this. I need to go back and look at it. We talk about, like, well, of course Brock Purdy's this good. He has McCaffrey, Samuel, Ayuk, Kittle. I don't know how many games CJ Beathard or Nick Mullins or Jimmy Garoppolo or any of those guys were getting those 3 to combine for 350 receiving yards, hitting deep shots. I mean, that might have been the most impressive thing because, like, my biggest complaint about Deebo Samuel is a lot of what he does is around the line of scrimmage, and you have Brandon Ayuk to run those routes. And now Deebo Samuel is scoring 54-yard touchdowns on passes 40 yards downfield. I don't know how you stop this Niners offense at this point. I don't think there's a way to.
No, there isn't. Cut off one head and 2 are in his place like Hydra. And the thing is all 3 guys had 40-yard plays, right? And I think, like, kind of to your point about who's been the quarterback before, that probably would have never happened. And again, this goes back to how well Brock Purdy's playing. But yeah, it's really funny to see these plays get hit because now people are assuming that Kyle Shanahan is now calling them. Well,
Yes.
I would say that there always have been there. And I kind of pointed it out. Like, whenever we watch the film and we watch the tape, we're like, we always see a guy like streaking by himself. And we're like, why didn't the ball go there? Or why wasn't the throw there? Now, those plays are being hit. And it's a little strange for us. Like, let's just be frank. It's strange to watch these plays get hit on such a consistent basis, let alone here or there. So yeah, I mean, it's very much pick your poison. Nice throw, Will Levis. Good God, that was horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think more than anything, what it is when this team isn't when this team is healthy all the way around, they're unbeatable unless they beat themselves. Seriously, you can't cover all of them. You can't stop everything. And kind of to Steve's point, like, well, if they start stacking the left side and they're not run and they can't run to the left side, it's not like Kyle Shanahan's going to say, well, what will I do? I have no idea what to do. Who would have seen that coming? If you want to do that, then there's something that obviously offset that, which means show that way, send everybody flowing that way, and then throw the ball back the other way. There's no way that you can really just sit there and say, as a defensive coordinator, we're going to take all these guys away, or we're going to stop this aspect of it, because when they're healthy, you can't. It's just impossible, right? Like this amount of weapons with this play caller and with the way that Purdy is operating this offense, it's unstoppable. It really is. That's no hyperbole. It's unstoppable. And when you look at the way Brandon Ayuk is running down the sideline by himself and he gets stripped, that's another 7 right there. So the 49ers put up 28 points. Early on, they weren't executing. 28 points when they're not executing. Remember that. Now remember that. And they turned the ball over twice. Just think about that. They didn't even put together a full game. They didn't put together the offensive performance that we thought they would or we've been seeing, and 28 points is your result. That's the thing, is what happens when they pop it off, because even in these 30-point games, we're still looking like, man, play here, kind of missing those things. You can't stop it. You don't have enough to do it unless something is escaping me in terms of defensive scheme or way that you can play things, or just they vomit on themselves. It's unstoppable because you can't stop them all. And the way that Purdy's operating his offense is just too good.
I had my first like Brock Purdy is really good moment. Yes, I mean I've had a lot of them, but the big one that I noticed is, and I mean this nicely to former quarterbacks, but when you saw Jimmy Garoppolo kind of rear back for a deep shot, your first thought was always, oh no. Like it's a okay, like let's see what happens here. I said out loud, it wasn't even a thought, when Purdy loaded up on that deep pass to Samuel, the words that came out of my mouth was, he has it. And like that's the sign of to me ultimate respect of just like, if he's geared, I've had so many Niner quarterbacks in my life where it's like they're gearing up for a deep pass and it's like, oh no, like this might not be good. But Purdy, it was just, oh, he's taking a deep shot, he's got somebody. And that to me is such a sign. I know we just kind of took our receiver conversation, made it about Purdy, but they're connected. We like it. Running backs, or not running backs, offensive line, Jason Aponte, offensive line. Ooh. I mentioned already, I feel like the left side had a better day than the right side, just at least of the numbers. I haven't watched the film. I mentioned.
Did they?
Yeah, I think they did. 140 of the 145 yards. What?
All right. No. Get to it.
Sorry.
PFF doesn't believe that the left side.
PFF disagrees with me.
PFF disagrees that the left side had a good. I can't wait to get into these grades. So,
but I'm gonna tell you, the left side of the offensive line, 140 of the 145 rushing yards came from that direction. That means 5 came from the other side. It was 10 rushes to the left, 6 to the right. So it's not like it's 30 to the left, 4 to the right. It was decently balanced. But then if you look at the pass blocking numbers, and this is where I get really confused. With the PFF grades that we're going to talk about, Colton McKivitz allowed 4. He plays on the right side. Brendel allowed 2. Feliciano allowed 2. Banks allowed 2. Trent Williams allowed 0. So now you're talking
0 is clean sheet.
So you're talking 6 of the 10 pressures came from the right side, Feliciano and McKivitz. 2 came from the left side, Williams and Banks. I've already said 140 of the 145 rushing yards have come from the left side. But when you look at PFF's offensive grade, not even the blocking grades, offensive grades, You have John Feliciano at a 91.4. Best 49er on the field yesterday, by the way.
Easily.
Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk had 120 passing yards at least. But John Feliciano was better. Colton McKivitz was an 81.3, better than Brock Purdy. Trent Williams, a 66 grade. And where is the left guard? Aaron Banks, 39.2, worst on the offense. So let me remind you, PFF had the two best offensive linemen on the Niners, being the two that combined for 6 pressures allowed and 5 rushing yards on 6 carries. But the two worst offensive linemen were the two that allowed 2 pressures and 140 of 145 of the rushing yards. Somebody explain it to me.
You know what? I can't. I mean, the idea that Trent Williams has zeros and has a clean sheet, like, doesn't that automatically put you in a spot where you're supposed to have a high PFF grade?
D-. A 66.0 is a D-.
Yeah. And listen, let me, you talked about the left side. Aaron Banks, 39.2 offensive grade, 45.3 run blocking grade, 26.9 pass blocking grade. That's Spencer Burford level. So 1 hit, 1 hurry, 2 pressures. Jake Brendel, 35 pass blocking grade, 2 sacks, 2 pressures. By the way, Leonard Williams was dogging his ass, and I was telling you guys all week about him on the damn tape when he was popping out. You know what, Andrew, I have no rhyme or reason, or I don't understand like how this could be. Trent Williams literally gave up nothing. I looked, it's all zeros. It's all zeros. It is zeros. And you sit there and you tell me that he's getting a 60-something. I need someone, like, I would love for these PFF grades when they come out to come out with some context and some answers.
Like a sentence of like why.
Yeah, like, hey, Trent Williams got this because we feel he missed this assignment, this assignment, this assignment. Okay. I mean, don't you have to rationalize these grades before you pass them in? Like, I hate that we have to keep having this discussion because there's so many good things that PFF does, and there's so many good things that their analytics are great for. But my God, man, none of that made sense when I had it, because I wrote the article today, offensive snaps and grades. So I have to wait for the grades to come out. When the grades come out and I start to write the article and I look through, and John Feliciano's the highest graded offensive player when Deebo Samuel is literally dominating and smashing people all over the place. And Brandon Ayuk is routing people up. It felt like Ayuk was open all game. And then we look at these pressure numbers, and Trent Williams has zeros, like all across the board, clean sheet. Like that's literally like when you walk back in and you're like, even when Trent has been, goated, right? Like, and they give him like those 89, 90 pressure, like that 90, like he's giving up pressures in those games. There's no rhyme or reason. I don't understand it, Andrew. And I don't have a good answer for you other than I have no idea what the hell's going on.
The only logic I have is whoever graded it accidentally watched the film on a mirror, because I feel like the left side was so much better than the right side and they were watching it backwards. Like that's the only logic I have. But like, I like to believe without seeing the numbers, I can tell that there's a physical, I don't know if you know this, but there's a bit of a physical difference between what Trent Williams looks like and Colton McKivitz looks like. I like to think that like without the numbers, you'd tell the difference between them. But like,
I don't know. I get confused all the time.
I don't know which one's which, honestly.
It happened in the broadcast. Charlie Warner caught a pass, and they were like, "Oh, there's George Kittle." I was like, "That was clearly Charlie Warner."
They went to commercial, and they called him Trent Wilson one time. I thought that was a fun one.
I wonder what the PFF grades for. I wonder what the PFF grades for Greg Olsen and Burkhardt were, because I feel like they made a bunch of mistakes.
I'll take you one deeper. Can we start a new website, PFFF, Pro Football Focus, where we grade the PFF grades?
Oh, wow.
I think we should do that. Yeah, I think we should go deeper.
I think Guy Haberman has something like that where he has his own grading system. Yeah. Just, I don't know, man. Shout out to Guy. I think he has something like that.
We need Guy on the pod again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, it's hard, man. He's a big money guy. So he was doing like NCAA basketball. Yeah. Well, off season's pretty hard too, man, because you got to maintain that hair. You don't got time to talk football with us.
That's fair. Jason, halfway through, we're going to get to the defense. What are we going to plug? Jason Aponte's YouTube channel. Haven't done it in a hot minute. Oh, go ahead. What do you want to plug?
Yeah, no, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. We had a lot of fun last night. Impromptu stream with Brad and I after it was official that the 49ers were the number 1 seed. By the way, the San Francisco 49ers are the number 1 seed in the NFC. Yes. The Philadelphia Eagles are dripping in fraud juice. So, I just want to make sure we get that.
5th seed.
Yeah. The
Wow.
fifth seed Philadelphia Eagles, how the mighty have fallen, dripping in fraud juice. I don't know what they're gonna do. They are in deep trouble. But yeah, make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for when we go live. This entire week is gonna be littered with content. It's real easy to talk about the 49ers right now because they've been playing so well. And make sure that you subscribe to the Sprint Right Option podcast wherever you get your audio podcast, and also Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Aponte so you can win some money. I mean, if you want to win money, all you got to do is look at my picks on Twitter and bet against those, because I haven't won I have no idea. So I think that's like the best way if you want to make some money. See whoever I'm picking and then just bet against that.
I like it. Let's talk defense. And maybe for the first time in this podcast history, I want to talk about the run part of the defensive line before we talk about the pass rush.
Okay.
Zach Charbonnet entered the game and he had consecutive 23-yard runs. So that's 46 yards. Kenneth Walker had a 12-yard run. So that's 46. That's 58 yards worth of carry, 58 yards on 3 carries. Take away those 3 carries, and those 2 running backs combined for, what is that? 14 carries for 9 yards. Like, see, other than the 3 big runs Seattle had, this run defense allowed nothing. Kevin Givens, I noticed him a couple times in the run game. Cleveland Farrell, I felt, had a good game in the run game, and then Javon Kinlaw as well. Just kind of what I noticed, not watching the tape, just kind of watching the video. And I still need to retweet an article that I told somebody I would retweet from earlier today about Javon Kinlaw. And we're going to have a little bit of this conversation with Charvarius Ward, but the news of Javon Hargrave, he might be out a couple weeks with a pulled calf. Don't know the severity of it.
Well.
Oh, Tyreek Hill is
down
on the ground, holding his.
Oh no, that's not good. But no, he's not gonna get up. But essentially, it sounds right now like Mooney and Javon Hargrave have actually avoided big injury. Huge injury. Yeah, so it's maybe a week or 2, it sounds like, and I think that's best case scenario. You can't ask for anything better than that. Yeah, I think that was the focus coming out of the game, was like what's going to happen with the injuries, because Dre Greenlaw did come back in the game. Even Oren Burks got banged up. You hear Hargrave, you see Mooney, but it sounds like things should be all right. That's also a horse collar by Sean Murphy Bunting. He'll be all right. He's gonna be fine. Yeah, he's
walking. He's walking. We're
fine.
good. Okay. But yeah, no, I was just him. I don't have him. I do not have him.
I mean, so as a fan of football, you just don't want to see him not.
I'm also like quasi a Dolphins fan because Dolphins Albert.
And I'm an MVP voter, and he's my vote. Look, he's running around. He's fine. I'm an MVP voter this year. He's my vote right now. So
he's gonna miss one play.
He's gonna miss one play, come back in and hit a deep shot touchdown.
Yeah, no. So the defensive line was very good. The pass rush was the pass rush. I didn't even look how many pressures they had, actually, to be honest. I know Bosa had a bunch. Bosa was in the backfield a lot. 22 pressures. Kinlaw with 4.
Andrew, who cares about pressures, man? If you ask that Joyner, pressures don't mean anything. But then he went on crying last night while the Eagles couldn't get pressure about pressures. Ha 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 ha. By the way, the Philadelphia Eagles stink. Suck it, Seth Joyner.
Oh man!
You thought I was done? You thought I was done with the Eagles? You thought I was done with the Eagles? Are you crazy? Are you dumb? No way.
Linebackers: Jason Aponte. Fred Warner's good. Ho hum, 8 tackles, an interception. Dre Greenlaw didn't commit a personal foul penalty. I just kind of want to get to the secondary because that's the big talk. That's the big story to me. Do you want to say anything about the linebackers, Jason?
Fred Warner, got a Christmas gift from Kyle Shanahan. I love the mind games for baiting DK Metcalf into that.
Yep.
And it's the old schoolyard rule, right? It's not the person who pushes first, it's the person who pushes second that gets caught. And that's what happened with DK Metcalf. And it's so funny we were talking about that. Like, it's so easy to just trigger him. He was frustrated because he wasn't getting the ball. It's like literally right after that touchdown, which, by the way, Ambry Thomas was literally in the best spot that he could be. I don't think he could have played that football any better. So, yeah, for me, Dre Greenlaw really good. Fred Warner really good.
Secondary. I am going to work on an article this week. It's going to be the apology to Steve Wilkes on behalf of Niner fans. I think yesterday was his best work. And I don't have
Easily.
the film to back that up. I don't have any Mostert. I think might have just gotten me my 5th point, so we might be good. Oh, by the way, somebody's been asking about the scores. I'm sorry, Alberto. It's 7-0 Dolphins, 0-0
And 0-0.
Packers Giants.
And the Packers are in the red zone right now.
But for them to lose Charvarius Ward, it's something that I've been concerned, Jason. You can go back on this podcast saying that, hey, you only have 5 cornerbacks. You cannot afford an injury here. Losing Charvarius Ward as early as they did, and then holding Seattle to what they did. I know Lockett had 6 for 89, but DK Metcalf's first 2 targets were 2 receptions for 52 yards and a touchdown. That's what he finished with. Jackson Smith and Jigba 4 for 25. Like he didn't do much. And this is behind majority Diamador Lenore, Ambry Thomas, and Isaiah Oliver. No Charvarius Ward. And I think if you told me we were losing Charvarius Ward early in this game, that'd be a concern. And I think this, Jason Aponte. Through 3 games, there's a conversation to be had about Jair Brown. Because this defense hasn't lost anything. And I know Talanoa Hufanga is very good.
Wait.
I'm not taking anything away from Talanoa Hufanga when I'm saying this.
Okay.
This defense hasn't lost a beat with Jair Brown.
Nope.
And that is the highest compliment you can give a guy who's a 3rd-round pick being thrown into a situation that we were not expecting him to be thrown into. And I think a lot of it has to do with Steve Wilks. The 49ers were down. I'm going to say this in the nicest way. The Niners were down to their B squad secondary. It was Lenore. It was Ambry Thomas. It was Jair Brown. And those are the 3 guys we're talking about here for having good games. Ambry Thomas allowed that touchdown. DK Metcalf didn't. But what was he supposed to do? Like defend better on a play he's already there? This secondary has slowly gone to like the obvious weak spot on this defense. To now, does this defense have a weak spot? And that's all credit to Steve Wilks because this is the same secondary. They haven't added anybody. I know they technically added Logan Ryan. He didn't really do anything. I didn't notice him once. I noticed him once yesterday because he was wearing 33. I thought he took 32, but he was wearing 33. That's why I noticed him.
Well, he gave 32 back to Ty Davis Price because he's such a nice guy.
Yeah. Great guy. I don't know, man. I feel like I just kind of said everything I needed to say about the secondary in that little burst there. Do you echo that sentiment, or do you see it differently than me?
Well, I don't want people to downplay how difficult it is to go through an entire week, set your game plan to having Mooney Ward follow DK Metcalf everywhere, and then after 3 plays, take away your best cornerback who has been playing lights out these last few weeks. I don't think you understand how hard that is because now you've got to adjust on the fly. And now you've got to kick a guy back outside who hasn't played outside much. And you've got to rely on somebody a little bit more than you would like to because your secondary isn't as strong now, obviously, with Mooney Ward not there. Ambry Thomas couldn't have defended that pass any better. If you run that play 9 more times, which would make it 10, 9 more times, most likely it's either going to get bounced, he's going to put his hands up, something's going to happen. That was just the one time that it got through. And that was literally the one time that you saw DK Metcalf. I didn't see him the rest of the game, and I saw Tyler Lockett way more.
Nope.
When it comes to Lenore looks like he was stepping up a little bit more. He was ready for the challenge. He was in DK Metcalf's head as well, too. That's kind of where the crux of that fight was going on right there.
Yep.
But I want to talk about Tig because
yep.
When Hufanga went down, my sentiment was you're not going to lose much in terms of the way that they play because their styles are incredibly similar. They both play downhill. The ball finds them, highlighted by the fact that Tig already has how many interceptions? The first one was a ball that bounced right to him. Literally almost every single Hufanga interception is the ball bouncing right to him, and he's playing downhill and he's being fast. That is literally what Tig was. And this was the whole idea of them getting him because this is what you're going to get next season when, whether, Tashawn Gibson's most likely not going to be here. It's going to be Tig and Hufanga. And they want both those guys to be ball hawks. They want them to be playing downhill. And I'm so glad the missed tackle narrative that was made up, I don't know where it came from. It's absolutely false and bonkers. It's completely gone The kid is in his
Mhm.
4th start.
Yep.
They say he's mature beyond his years. I had a chance to speak with him. He is absolutely mature. He
Yep.
absolutely has the look of a guy who knows what he can do and is not afraid in any way. He will never be overwhelmed. His skill set matches so closely to Talanoa Hufanga that you literally can put him in the same positions as Huff. You'll have your missteps because he's obviously trying to figure out the position because he's brand new, but it's the same type of player. You don't have to change anything schematically. You allow him to play free. You allow him to play fast. And that is what I was trying to say. It's not downplaying what Hufanga is. It is looking
No.
at skill sets and looking at the way that they will be deployed. And it is the same thing. Let them be free. They had him in center field on the play that he literally ran down and intercepted the pass on. He's a hitter. He has a nose for the ball. The ball finds him. And that is literally Talanoa Hufanga to a T. It was never me trying to equate nothing happening between the two, but rather paralleling their skill sets, which are literally the same thing. The same thing. Like take steps into the Tampa Bay game, has one bad play, ends up with the interception in the red zone, right? Seattle, you didn't even hear his name called. There was nothing wrong. Philadelphia, one play, one missed tackle, everything else. Tig has been fine. And this kid, the more that he plays, is going to be great. And I think to Andrew's point, Steve Wilkes making this change and this transition on the fly to what you prepared to do the entire week, and then said, well, we've got to pivot and very fast because that group of receivers is a good group. All 3 of them are good receivers. I just don't think that there's anything that needs to be said. And so many people want to get rid of Steve Wilkes. You've got to fire him. We've got to get someone else. The overreactions between those 3 games about the defense look insanely reactionary. They look insanely over the top, right? Like, again, just make sure that you sit there and you realize that at times Steve Wilkes has been a first-time play caller. He's trying to fit his scheme with what they do. He's trying to figure out on the back end what they have. They came out of the bye. They put Ambry Thomas outside. They kicked Lenore inside. And look at how well the defense is doing. I haven't heard a word about Steve Wilkes, and I think Andrew's right. It's time to apologize. Every single person, apologize. Admit that you said that you wanted scheme changes and you wanted changes. That's fine. But you wanted him fired. A lot of people, not everyone. You wanted him fired. Apologize to that man. And it's the same thing over and over. You did it with Robert Saleh. You did it with D'Amico. You doing it with Wilkes. Relax. Let things play out.
Yep. The last thought I had on the secondary, and I'm sure we'll have a bit of a conversation here about it. They definitely frustrated the Seattle receivers. You had Smith and Jigba get called for a penalty against Ambry. Ambry was looking for it. You like that. And then obviously the big scuffle that happened near the end of the game. 2 thoughts. A, you notice how Big Dom wasn't there and it kind of spilled all over the place, how it was a huge, huge fight. Like Big Dom stopped a big fight in Philadelphia. And B, I had people telling me that Dre Greenlaw shouldn't be fined on Saturday. But when DK Metcalf also suplexed somebody, he was the dirtiest player in the game. I don't know how that math adds up. That's all I got. It was a fun. I like talking about football fights. They're very fun. I hope the Niners get into more fights because I think that's fun. I get excited. It's cool. But I mean, it's who DK Metcalf has become. And that's fine. I have no issue with it. I like players chippy. I don't like how it's penalty. Like I like Dre Greenlaw. I don't like the penalties, but I like how he plays. It's very fun up until the penalties. I think it's kind of the same with DK Metcalf. You take a lot what he gives, but he's going to have issues like that. That was a fun little fight, a fun little scuffle that happened yesterday.
I just wonder, the Eagles just weren't the same because Big Dom wasn't there.
No, Big Dom
was
secret
sauce, right? Yeah, he wasn't at the game against the Dallas Cowboys, and that's why the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously can't win games. Because Blood thinks he's on the team. Yes. And he sat in his house and he watched and he lined up and he was by himself. If you thought I was going to stop cooking the Philadelphia Eagles, you were sorely mistaken. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to get all this work while all this is happening because all they do is do this and then they walk away. No. We here to stay. Yeah. But Big Dom is the secret sauce, apparently, right? Because he leaves the game and all of a sudden now the Philadelphia Eagles can't win the game. And now they're in Dallas and they can't win the game. Fun fact, Andrew Pasquini. Very, very fun fact. The last NFL football team to win a game against the Dallas Cowboys in AT&T Stadium would be the San Francisco 49ers, helmed by bad thumb Jimmy Garoppolo, and when Dak Prescott forgot the rules. But yet the Philadelphia Eagles get to go there every year, and you can't find a way. Dripping in fraud juice. Couldn't be me. Couldn't be me losing to the Dallas Cowboys. And if I was a Philadelphia Eagles fan, I would simply not allow my team to lose to the Dallas Cowboys. But that's just me. I wouldn't put up with that sort of disrespect, and I wouldn't get embarrassed on national television if that was me. But either way, about this team and everything that actually matters. I'm still gonna get my jokes off. I don't care.
Oh, absolutely, not.
But look, it's the whole overarching thing with this team right now is they have these moments, right, where during the season, right, like there's these 3 or 4 game stretches where you figure out, why is this team playing this way? What's happening? And they're always trying to figure things out. When you look back, D'Amico Ryans was here for a year, right? 2 years. Robert Saleh trying to figure things out. At times, it's always about little things that they need to correct. Mm-hmm. And during the Kyle Shanahan tenure, I mean, I'm going to keep saying this until I'm blue in the face. This team does not peak until it's time to get ready for the playoffs. There was no peaking after the first 5 games, and there was no bottoming out after the 3-game loss, the 3-game losing streak. It's always going to be a team that figures it out at the end. Now, injuries play a part in that, but when the San Francisco 49ers are absolutely healthy, I don't know that there's a team on this planet that can beat them. It's not in the NFC. There's no one in the NFC right now because it ain't Seattle, it ain't Philadelphia, it ain't Dallas.
Standing in the AFC,
and then it's not the AFC. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is melting down. Nobody else is there. All right, so Baltimore is scary. That's in 2 weeks. Baltimore is very scary. Miami still hasn't beaten a team worth a damn yet.
I think the only team in the AFC that scares me isn't even in the playoffs right now, and that's the Buffalo Bills.
And if they get hot and they do something, that's scary.
That's the scary, because if the Bills are hypothetically playing in a Super Bowl against the 49ers, they're the hottest team in football because they have to win out at this point, right? Like they more or less have to win out. So yeah, sorry, Jason, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good. It's just, again, health. That's it, right? Like that's the main concern when you walk out of this game. Javon Hargrave's hurt. Mooney's hurt. What is it going to look like? That's what you're a little bit nervous about. But when this team is upright and healthy, nobody can beat them. Nobody, unless they beat themselves. And I think, again, today, this week is going to be a lot of fun because the 49ers did something that I think if you line up the Tampa Bay win with this one, they kind of feel a little bit the same, in which it's like, okay, it's going your way for a little bit. It's not. Then you find a way to get a win. It's always important to find ways to get wins in this league because they're not easy, and it's not as easy as the 49ers make it look. So I'm more impressed with this win and more happy with this win than I am when you blow out a team 40. I mean, besides the Eagles, besides the Cowboys, But when you blow out the Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't learn anything about this team because I already knew they were better than them. You want to learn about the grimy wins. You want to learn about them when there's adversity, and the same thing that you do when people talk about player prospects, right? Like I had a friend say, "Oh, I watched this player's highlights, and I'm impressed." If I put together J.R. Ryder, who's an old basketball player, if I put together all his highlights and they were all dunks, you would think that he was the next Jordan. It's not the way to evaluate people. I want to watch when things are not right. That's when you learn about him. Why'd you make that mistake? Why is this happening? So for me, it's about right now understanding that I want to see this team go through a little adversity because I want to know how you respond. And they've done that, and they've done it again. So again, people wanting Brock Purdy and this team to come back from 21 points down or whatever it is to like come back and win in a game. You're probably going to be waiting until February because when is this team going to get down by 21? I'll never understand that argument. I need to see him come back from this. When are they going to be down 21 points? Like, when does that happen? Like, it's not going to happen. They're too good. So take that one out, but show me that you can win games when things are weird. And I think that's kind of where it was, at least a little bit in the game.
Yeah, no, it was a dominant win, but it wasn't the prettiest, and then that's about all you can ask for because that's what playoff games are going to be. It's going to be not the prettiest. Jason, let's get through 3 stars, and then we're going to get up out of here. Everybody can enjoy their Monday night. My 3rd star is going to be Deommodore Lenoir. He was the second most targeted 49er player yesterday. He only allowed 2 receptions. He had the second lowest passer rating against, and he was thrown into a tough situation without Charvarius Ward and without the support he gets from that to step in and have the Eagle or the put the Eagles in my head. The Seahawks receivers not really play the way they could. You feel really good about where Diamador Lenore is at this point.
Honorable mention, third star, Kyle Shanahan cement threes. That is such a clean look. The Air Jordan 3 is the first time that Michael Jordan ever won a dunk contest. And for me, is one of the most versatile Air Jordans. You could wear it with a suit jacket. You can wear them with jeans. You can wear them with anything. I love it. Kyle Shanahan's shoe game is my honorable mention. My third star, my actual
star every week, to be honest.
Yeah, my actual third star, is going to be Ambry Thomas. I think, again, being thrown into the fire, everything as well too. I mean, Diamador Lenore was great, but I think we've kind of been watching the growth happen week by week, and just the confidence is growing. And just, again, I'm not going to get mad at him for that DK Metcalf touchdown because he probably couldn't have played it any better.
No.
But Ambry Thomas, man, I think it says a lot about you as a player, because people like me and many others have kind of counted you out. And when they need you and you've been sitting around, it's about, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And it felt like Ambry was waiting for his moment. So, yeah, Ambry Thomas, number 3.
Honorable mention for me, I see the chat mentioning it, Mitch Wishnowski. He would have been my third star.
All pro, baby.
If that play held, he would have been a third star. But saw a play, had a chance to make a play, made a play. Ronnie Bell slips, doesn't count, unfortunately. Mitchie Dubs, honorable mention, we'll give him that.
All pro.
My number 2 star is Brock Purdy. 368, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. The offense is humming like it's never hummed before, and it's all because of Brock Purdy. As I said, I know people are saying, "Oh, it's an insult, yak merchant." It's just fun to say. Like I want to use it as a meme now, like yak merchant. It's just fun. But that's dead. That's dead. He is not a yak merchant. He is the keys that make this offense go. And he is making it go. Like it's really. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think you could argue that he's making this offense go like it's never gone in 49ers history, not just under Shanahan, but 49ers history. I know there's a lot of great teams. I don't want to confirm that before looking at it, but it feels like it's moving, and it's because of Brock Purdy. Who's your number 2 star, Jason Aponte?
Brock Purdy. Again, so you start off the way that you start, and you find a way to finish. Just keep balling, man. I don't care where you rank him. I don't care where you think he is in the MVP conversation. Just play like that, and there will be a game that you will be playing in that is not called the Pro Bowl in February. That's it. That's all that matters to me. I don't care where you rank him. I don't care how you feel about him. You've got nothing to do but deal with it. And that's all I want Brock Purdy to do, is to continue to play this way, continue to distribute the football, continue to hit those throws that we've prayed for the entire time. And honestly, he's operating this offense to the level of the Atlanta Falcons. And Kyle Shanahan immediately said the same exact thing. That was the best offense I ever had. This is the best offense I've had since then. And the numbers are starting to bear out that he was actually better than the guy who won MVP that season. By the way, Matt Ryan is kind of just telling a little bit, right? And I think we have a lockstep on our number 1 star.
Yep. 3, 2, 1. Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel.
I love you, Deebo. I love you.
He's good. He's good.
When you hear people say, oh, I had a, down year. It was this, it was that. Deebo kind of really put a stranglehold on that. And he really came out and he wanted to show something. I put some things on tape. I think that was the most impressive thing to hear. I put some things on tape that I shouldn't have. And when I watch myself, I look and I say, I can be better. I think, Andrew, you spit a bar earlier. We're like, oh, this is 2021 Deebo.
Yeah.
Nah, this is 2023
This is
Deebo.
2023 Deebo.
Yeah. And you know what? This team not only embodies his physicality, embodies his swagger, he is the engine of this offense. You notice that when he's there, everyone plays with a little bit more edge. Everyone follows Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is the heartbeat of the San Francisco 49ers entire team. They go as he goes. And when he plays like that, they're unstoppable. Shout out to Deebo Samuel, man. I love you.
I love you. The last one I got on Deebo, and it's really it is he did something yesterday that he hasn't done since 2021, and something he's only done 3 times in his career now, and that's consecutive 100-yard receiving games. So I mean, now we're talking about things he hasn't done since 2021, which is the best version of Deebo, and I think this version can be better, and that's a scary thought because Deebo Samuel in 2021. What we've never seen anything like it. I don't know if we're ever going to see anything like it until maybe now. So I don't know. I'm very excited to see where this turns out. Bad news, Jason. It's official. Shohei signed a 10-year deal with the Dodgers. It's officially official. That just came across. News? I just saw it. I just saw it.
Is that bad news? If I could put a meme up on the screen, it would be Mike Tomlin. We do not care.
We do not. Baseball's
care.
Not a real sport.
We would never. You know what's funny is I had people after Ohtani signed. You're just mad that the Yankees did this. We were never in. Like, do you think the Kansas City Royals are sitting there and their fans are sitting in their house and they're like, damn it, man! If we would have only got Ohtani, it was never a possibility. I don't care. All that, right? To have Ohtani, all that, and they're probably gonna go get Yamamoto. All that to lose to the Atlanta Braves in the division series. You hate to see it.
And you guys got Juan Soto. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about baseball.
Baseball, man. Fake sport.
Not a real sport. Tell them.
Not a real sport. Hey, man, when I'm hyping Matt Chapman and Cody Bellinger, cannot wait.
Oh man. You know what's funny is that I was literally talking with my brother who's like a big baseball fan, and I was just like, yeah, they've got to like go all in now on Bellinger and Chapman to at least say you did something. And
Yamamoto.
Sorry, guys.
If the Giants don't get Yamamoto, I'm out. I'm out.
I don't think they are. I think all that deferred. I think that deferred money stuff is all for them to just go ahead and do that.
Well, this
man's gonna get paid until the sun explodes.
My thing is, it's like I was already mentally preparing myself for like, there's no way the Giants are gonna outbid the Mets for Yamamoto because like at least like I know you make your memes about the Mets, but at least they're willing to spend the money. The Giants had an owner come out and say like we're trying to break even. But yeah, this Shohei contract, just like the Dodgers are going to get Yamamoto, and this sucks, and the Giants are just going to get Matt Chapman. Harrison. How could I forget Harrison Bader too? My bad. They're going to get Chapman, Bader, and Bellinger. My bad.
Hey, listen, I will not sit here on a football podcast and allow you to slander Yankee legend Harrison Bader.
Listen, I am starting to plan the mutiny of Giants ownership. I am looking for a day to visit Oracle Park, just to hang out with some friends. I don't know what date. I'm thinking January 6th is a Saturday. It's just a free day. No, I'm joking. That's a joke. Right, that's a joke, guys. I'm joking, guys. That was a joke. That was a joke. We're not storming Oracle Park. I'm just not happy with ownership. No, but it's not great. It's not great to be a Giants fan. But
great to be a 49ers fan.
There we go. There it is. Perfect time. And as we say on this podcast, Jason Ponte, as always.
Let's go Niners. And I have to say, Andrew's hat is not cursed.
It's not cursed. It spins a lot, and it's almost falling apart. It's old hat, but it spins.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.